these fighters laid waste to the narrative that Bellator fighters can never compete with the UFC fighters. Yeah, fair enough. Can never compete, that's really harsh and that's strong. Bellator fighters can certainly come over, and PFL right now since they bought Bellator, but you get what I'm saying. These fighters can definitely come over to the UFC, make an impact, become up to even top five. I mean, we've seen Justin Gaethje become top five, Michael Chandler become top five. We've seen it happen. But for the most part, they float at around top 15, top 10, which is still really good. And not for nothing, but if you include Strikeforce, you have a lot of champions, right? Daniel Cormier became a champion. Luke Rockhold became a champion. Ronda Rousey was, the inaugural champion, but she kept it. So you had a few of those over in Strikeforce as well. And even Pride, you had Shogun Rua become a champion. You had a few people from Pride become UFC champion as well. Rampage Jackson, etc., etc. So people have always known there's talent outside of the UFC. It's not that. It's just more so where the best talent is. And by and large, the best talent is in the UFC. That's not a question. The UFC has the most talent. The UFC, I feel the top 15 fighters in the UFC can go make an immediate impact in Bellator more so than a top 5 Bellator can make an impact in the UFC. I think a top 15 fighter in the UFC, a top 10 fighter in the UFC at the bottom, like let's say 7, 8, 9, 10, like let's say Vicente Luque, right? I think Vicente Luque could go over to Bellator and be champion in his next fight. That's what I think. But I don't think the same level guy, like the number 7 ranked welterweight in Bellator, does that over in the UFC. I don't see that happening. So, it just is what it is. As for all these guys, you got Eddie Alvarez that became a champion. You can't forget that. Volkov, again, he kind of floats in that top 15, top 10 region. Michael Chandler, he lost to all those guys. He beat Tony Ferguson, yeah, and he beat Dan Hooker. But outside of that, he lost to Justin Gaethje. He lost to Charles Oliveira. He lost to Dustin Poirier. All in good fights that were back and forth. And he also was very close to winning those fights. But overall, is Michael Chandler going to be UFC lightweight champion? Doubt it. Yeah, I doubt it. MVP as well. MVP, from what I saw with Kevin Holland, like he could definitely hang with UFC competition. He has the type of explosiveness and knockout power that he could get he could win the title on any given night. Same with Michael Chandler, right? But it's not likely, in my opinion. So that's my take on this one. Yeah, of course, Bellator fighters can compete. PFL fighters can compete. But can they be champion? Can they be dominant champions? Can they, run the gauntlet, so to speak? That's sort of yet to be seen. You've had a few exceptions. You've had Justin Gaethje's of the world. You know what I mean? You've had a few exceptions, but overall, not so much. I think it's a lot more rare than people are making it out to these days. Now, with that said, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Agree, disagree, doesn't matter. Join the discussion, follow for more, and leave a like if you enjoyed the time spent. Thank you. You are appreciated.